Welcome to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name is Jared Mello. Today we're going to go over 3 superpowers for dealing with a narcissist. And this is for when we can't go no contact. Ideally, that is what we would be able to do, but when we have kids with them, or we have to work with them, or sometimes it's family, we can't go no contact. And that's where these superpowers can really come in handy. And the first superpower is learning to not need your reality validated. Oftentimes, the narcissistic person is an expert at baiting and provoking and flipping the script in a way that makes it seem like there is something wrong with you, or something wrong with the way you think, or something wrong with what you did. And when you learn to not need your reality validated, to not be proven right in any way, because they're not going to do it. They are not going to validate your reality. They're not going to tell you you are correct. So to learn to not need that and not justify, argue, defend, explain when they provoke, that is a superpower to know, okay, I think this, I did this, I own it, I accept it, I don't need them to agree with me or to validate me. That's superpower number 1. Superpower number 2 is learning to pick and choose your battles with them. Because especially when you have kids, you can't just let them get their way with everything. Because after all, they are your kids too. And you have to learn to pick and choose your battles wisely. Not every hill will be a hill to die on, but some may be hills to die on. And you have to learn to be able to pick and choose what those battles will be. Because the unnecessary battles will just drain you and they'll rob you of your peace. But there will be some important battles where it is going to be important to engage and to step up and to speak your mind. And it's important to know what's the difference between the battles you'll fight and the battles you will not fight. And I highly recommend people having lines for themselves, writing down their red lines and saying, if this is what happens, this is what I'm going to do. These are going to be the battles that I choose to fight. Number 3 will be learning how to communicate boundaries in a way that does not turn into a fight. Now, gray rock is something that we can use in this superpower. And gray rock, for those of you who don't know, is just being a little more boring, not being emotional, not over-explaining, and just telling it how it is. And learning how to do this with a narcissist is a massive superpower. Telling them our boundary, but not turning it into an argument, not turning it into a fight, not feeling the need to justify, argue, defend, or explain about said boundary. And that's why this is a superpower, because it can be difficult. But say we have a red line, and we say that boundary. Some of the tools that I recommend, along with gray rock, for implementing that boundary are the broken record technique, saying the boundary over and over again, and saying, this is what I think, this is the boundary, and then this would be the consequence, and that's final. And just explaining it in the least amount of words possible. And again, not getting too angry or flabbergasted throughout all of this will also be extremely helpful. That's where the gray rock part of this superpower comes into play. But these are the 3 superpowers that, when we have to deal with a narcissist, it will make our time with them the most peaceful it can be. And I fully admit, you can't always just give them everything they want. Sometimes we have to choose our battles and the grounds that we are going to fight on. And we'll say, yes, this is important to me. This is a hill that I'm willing to die on. And once we learn some of that, we can then decide, okay, how are we going to implement these boundaries and how are we going to fight these battles? I always recommend gray rock, and I will always also recommend not over-explaining too much in any of these scenarios, because that will also be used against us. Saying a boundary and then saying it clearly, concisely, and not over-explaining it. And again, this is not easy, because if they truly are a narcissist, they are experts at gaslighting, flipping the script, provoking, baiting, making it seem like there's something wrong with you, giving you subtle jabs along the way. It seems like they know all of the right things to do to try to get under your skin. And that's why I don't pretend any of this is easy. And that's why I call them superpowers. And I get reminded of this myself on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. I see all sorts of these provoking techniques by what I would consider narcissistic people. It doesn't matter if they have full-blown MPD or not. They are doing all of these techniques. And it is difficult. I fully admit it can be difficult to not jade. It can be difficult to pick and choose your battles. And it can be difficult to just say clearly and concisely what your boundary is, going gray rock about it, and not getting too upset or overly emotional. But these are superpowers that I think are extremely important for our peace in dealing with them when we have to. And again, ideally, we would be able to go no contact, but that is not always possible. To reiterate here, what are these three superpowers again? The first one is not needing your reality validated and learning to just do what you are going to do anyway in some of these cases. If it's not a hill to die on, just let it go. You don't need them to agree with you. You don't need them to validate your reality in any way. Number two would be picking and choosing your battles, learning what hills are a hill to die on, which will lead to number three, learning how to communicate those boundaries and pick and choose those battles in a way that is clear, concise, gray rock, and not overly emotional, because that will be something that is really helpful for us and our peace when push comes to shove, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about our quality of life and not letting them rob us of our peace and making the time that we have to spend with them as peaceful as possible, and so that we can still be happy and fulfilled, even though we have to deal with them in certain times. And again, I fully acknowledge it is not always easy. That's why I call these superpowers, but it is possible. And on the bright side, when you have to deal with them, you will get better at dealing with them. This is kind of an exposure therapy a little bit, where you have to deal with their gaslighting, you have to deal with their provoking and their baiting and all that good stuff. You will get better at it as time goes on. That's the video for today, though. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you liked it. Share this video with someone that has to deal with a narcissist. Maybe they have kids together, maybe it's in the workplace, maybe it's with family, but either way, share this video with them, because these superpowers might really be able to help them. And comment below if you think there are any superpowers that I missed, anything else that I missed that would actually help people deal with narcissists on a day-to-day basis. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.